Nam yo ho ning ge ko 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 nam yo ho ning ge.
Hi, I'm Margaret, and this is the channel where we take Buddhist philosophy and practice and apply it to the problems and concerns of everyday life. Today, our topic is going to be hurt by someone? Why should I chant for their happiness? I've received a number of comments from people who have been wronged or betrayed by someone and are having a really hard time chanting for that person's happiness. They feel that what that person did was so reprehensible that they just can't bring themselves to chant for their happiness. So, why would leaders advise you to chant for the happiness of someone who has hurt you? Now, we all know that the causes that we make with our thinking and actions are creating a future effect that we will experience when the time is right. If you're living a life full of anger and resentment, what do you think you're creating for a future effect in your own life? A future where things are going to be possible to have anger and resentment. The purpose of moving forward when someone hurts you is, first of all, to free you from those kinds of future effects. The purpose of letting go and moving on is absolutely not to condone the behavior, but to free you. So not only don't you create future effects, but you won't have all that energy bound up and blocked, which can't be used for all the rest of your life. If those blockages remain deep enough and long enough, they can even lead to illness. As you know, each of us has the seed of Buddhahood planted within, but it requires dirt in order to sprout. The obstacles and the challenges we face in our lives are the dirt which allow us to grow. This is why our lives are our curriculum, because there are no mistakes about what we need in order to grow. Now, when somebody wrongs you, this is the perfect opportunity to do your human revolution. Now, the curriculum might not be something that you would prefer at all. Actually, the obstacles and problems we require to grow into Buddhahood are usually not what we would want, but rather what we need. It's as though our potential Buddhahood is like the lotus flower. To take this analogy further, for the lotus flower to grow, it needs to have its roots sunk deep into the muck and slime of a lotus pond. Our roots are sunk deep into the muck and the dirt of the everyday world, with all of the problems that we face there. If the lotus flower started to hate its pond and tried to leave and go to a cleaner place, what do you think would happen to it? It would never be able to bloom. And it's like that with us. If we try to avoid our problems, we're trying to avoid doing the work necessary to become Buddhas. Like the lotus flower, we have to stay in the dirt and muck of everyday life and use it to do our human revolution. When dealing with a difficult situation or someone who has hurt you, sit down in front of the Gohanzen and ask, what am I supposed to learn through this? Through this experience. When you base your life on sincere daimoku to the Gohanzen and take your answers from the ideas you get from your daimoku, then you can change your destiny and overcome your karma. Now I want to tell you a couple of stories. They come from a video called The Power of the Heart. It's a video actually on forgiveness. The first story is about a mother whose daughter was in the hospital. And through the malpractice and negligence of the hospital, she went into a coma for a year and then died. Of course, initially, the mother carried a lot of blame, resentment against the doctor and the hospital. It would be totally natural for that to happen. But after doing a lot of soul searching, she decided rather than to hold on to that, and in order to deal with it, she made a decision not to do a malpractice suit against the hospital, but to write a book instead. And through that process of writing, she cleansed all of her anger and resentment. She came to see and understand that no one had intentionally hurt her daughter, and was able to let her anger and blame go and move on with her life. In a second story, there was a young woman, Immacula Ilibagiza, from Rwanda. She went through the genocide in Africa. And in that genocide, her family, 2 brothers, her grandmother and grandfather, and friends were killed by the Hutsis, who'd been paid by the government to kill the Tutsis. She and 6 other women had to spend 3 months hiding in a bathroom, expecting every day to be found and killed. The only thing that saved that group of women was a big wooden closet that was pulled in front of the bathroom door. And as the Hutsis were rampaging through the house, putting machetes into suitcases to make sure there weren't babies hidden there, she heard one of them boast that he had killed 399 people. After those experiences, she was consumed by anger and hatred. It twisted her mouth, and her whole body hurt. It was absolutely impossible for her to say the words, quote, "Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us." Some things just seem too big and too awful to ever be able to let go. All of us would have felt exactly the same way. But trying to come to terms with what had happened, she examined the lives of Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, and Mother Teresa, all of whom had suffered. And she saw what their lives had become when they had chosen love rather than hatred. Then she looked at the lives of Hitler and others who had chosen hate and saw what their lives had become. And she realized she had a choice. She could love or she could hate. So she prayed for help in being able to let go of the anger and hatred that were twisting her body and her life. She really wanted to be like Nelson Mandela, who believed that people could change. She wanted to leave the bathroom behind. And she was able to do that. And whenever she was able to let go, gratitude took over her life. She was profoundly grateful for everything, every small thing in nature. The love and appreciation were overwhelming. But she didn't know if her ability to let it go would hold if she was faced with the perpetrator of the killings of her family. She went to the prison and sat across a table from him and saw a man who was shaking and clearly in hell. She reached out to him and told him that she forgave him. She had freed herself from the prison of hatred entirely. This is such an extreme situation. And yet, this is why our leaders ask us to chant for the happiness of people who have hurt us. As long as we carry the anger and the resentment around, we can't be really happy. It's like picking up a hot coal and expecting the other person to be hurt. That doesn't mean that letting go is easy. Letting go is a process, and it doesn't happen overnight. It takes daily work, patience, but most of all, the willingness to have it happen. Sometimes it's really hard to let go of being a victim. Other people commiserate and side with you, and there can be real satisfaction in that. There can also be the satisfaction of being righteous. But as we've seen, there's also a big, big price. So in summary, today we discussed why it's important to your life to chant for the happiness of people who have made you suffer. Letting go doesn't happen overnight, and it is a process. But with patience and daily work, it can be done. And the result is the ability to live a happy life and become a Buddha as you've done your human revolution. And as always, I love to hear from all of you. I love your comments. I love your suggestions of things to talk about. So keep them coming. And I'll see you the first week of next month.